And boom, we are live. This is Tokyo Tonight 2, and I'm Hikosaemon. Welcome to the show. I'm just checking levels, and I'm checking levels because in spite of all of the fuss, I have got the music levels down pretty low this time, so this should be tolerable. I want to take a quick poll. If the music is annoying, I can totally see the comments really well at the moment, so you can tell me and I will turn it off. But you know what, I am just going to go through this. I've got Matagaijinka playing at the moment, who's been making some awesome music at the moment, and it's always very good to see. Let me just quickly check my levels. I mean, that's... Oh no, that's Mataka, that's me. Oh, that's my last track. And that's a great track, by the way, so I'm just going to leave that there in the background. I'm going to turn off the levels. And boom, here we go. And I'm actually relatively on time, which is another good thing. Maybe I'm just not going to touch anything for the rest of the night. This is me, this is me. The track is called Mataka, so I got a little bit confused. But anyway, it's great to see everybody. I hope you're doing well. I've had a very, very busy week. A bit shambolic as usual. I actually every week I plan to be prepared and I have some new excuse. My excuse this week is that there was a House of Cards marathon on satellite TV yesterday, the first season. I've never actually seen House of Cards before. I've wanted to watch it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. And so yeah, I turned on the recorder. I recorded all 13 episodes of the first season, and I'm like up to episode 10, and I can't stop. So I am enjoying that very much, and as a result, I left this until very much the last minute. And no spoilers, please. It's been a busy week. There's been lots of stuff going on, so I am definitely going to get in and talk to you guys about that, and just been sharing the stuff I've been tweeting. You can of course follow my Twitter on Hikosaemon, like my channel name. That's there. One big shout out I do need to do. Actually, I should put the video information in for this, but there is of course the YouTube Hanami. It looks like the Sakura, the latest forecasts are that this year is going to be completely on schedule. It's going to be April 1st. Which is when it is pretty much for full bloom, which is pretty much when it is supposed to be like every year. But of course, you know, depending on whether it's warm or cold, it becomes before or after. And it was a big gamble setting the date, 4 months ahead, a gamble I wasn't in favor of taking, but it looks like it's paid off. It is definitely going to happen, and I'm going to be there, and we're only a few weeks away from that now. I know that Tai Nakamura is going to be here in Tokyo. I know a few other people are flying in. If you can make it up to Tokyo for April 1st, it's going to be the time to be here. And if it all goes, ass up, if it's raining or whatever, there will be the backup option of the hub, which everyone can come to. But otherwise, yeah, there are the Hanami. But I think that's pretty clear that there's one that's sort of in the lead. I'll put the information for it there. And yeah, that's going to be the main party for everybody who wants to meet people who are here in the comments, meet me, people who are on YouTube in Japan. And it's going to be a beautiful thing, so I'm hoping to see you guys there on April 1st. Let's say hello to who's in the comments. We've got Aphex Dokan, indeed, Michael Gillen Pickett, excellent to see you always, sir. Steve Miller, greetings and salutations. I'm trying to say that in a Steve Miller voice, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. He's got the voice of America, no less. I always thought he was the voice of America, but now he actually is. And it's been a busy week for you, hasn't it? There's definitely a lot going on across the ditch, which we'll be talking about. Robert Old Dude, good morning, good day, good evening. Yes, indeed. This persona feels a little bit better. 3 old dudes, there we go, they're taking over. It looks like I've given you moderation rights, which is funny because the least moderate people I think I know, but there we go. They have a little spanner there. Davo Hunter, howdy doodly doo, indeed. Kenji Hosokawa, excellent to see. Your wife and I are working on damn taxes. See, I have to admit, Kenji, this is part of why I went to a place where they just take my taxes out and I don't have to do anything. Sorry to say it, but yes, that was the. I know you've got a long, probably night ahead there, and I will. Well, you know me, I'm not that distracting. I probably the whole hour. You're going to get about 30 seconds of information and entertainment, and I'll try to be good. I'll try to pack it all into those 30 seconds, and otherwise just be a droning, relaxing white noise sound for the rest of it. Hope you like the tunes. What else we got here? Do I want toast? I always want toast. I have toast like most mornings with peanut butter on it. Sergeant Bilko, hello there Sweden. Good to see you, Lysander 45. That's right, half day for you, so you can stay up for this. That's yes, yay for half days. And good to have you with us. And who else we got in here? We got Amble. Oh, Amble. Good to see you, Amble. Boom to me indeed. Didn't realize I was broadcasting again, but I am broadcasting again. My views indicate that people don't seem to know that I'm broadcasting again, which I'm a little bit sorry about, but consistency is the key. I'm just going to go back to being consistent. Work things out. I'm frankly, it never really made much of a difference in the first place to the stuff, so it's good, and I'm here and hang around. Who else we got? We got Mata Gajinka. Yeah, it's not yours. I couldn't hear it at the time that I put it, and I just saw like Mata, and I thought it was you, but it's wrong. The reason that these have the funny track names on it is because I actually edited them in Audition for Adobe and normalized the sound on all the tracks so you don't get all the weird volume variations, which hopefully that will come across. Olivia D, excellent to see you, and it sounds good. I'm glad to hear that. Nice music indeed. Thank you for that, Michael Pickett. Ben Duncan, yo, another member of the crew. Dude, you got to put some tracks up, by the way, Ben Duncan. He makes excellent music. He's a sound engineer. He knows his stuff. Missed last week. Well, it's all on there, although, you know, they're all pretty much the same. Barringer, hello, indeed. We got Andrew Moboy, good to see you, and not going to stay long, but early start. Okay, well, good to have you along, Andrea, and excellent to have you in here. Gifted Ones, 1987. This will be interesting. The Korean president has just left the building. I just read about that earlier, and she said the truth will come out. And to which I respond, that's what we're all afraid of, Miss Ex-President, or Ms. Whatever, you know, it's, what do we got here now? The next track is I can't. I guess I'll catch it. I can just look ahead in the screen in front of me to see it. Yes. What do we got here? We got hello, Robert. We got Phoenix 787. There we go. Phoenix has the information for the Hanami. The first week of April is best. Well, statistically, that's the best. You got lucky, and congratulations on that. The forecasts say that you are still lucky, and now is normally about the time that you should announce it. So yeah, good, congratulations, Phoenix. You lucked out. Now you actually all you have to do is throw an excellent event and make it the best one. So good luck with that, and I'll be sharing the information with that. So that is true. Criso de la Eriquejo, good to see. Wow, Criso de la Eriquejo. I don't know if that's like a reference to something, but that is a very, very cool name. In fact, I can't even place it. And I know when I see a new name. So welcome, Criso de la Eriquejo. Good to have you along. Hope I pronounced that right. Eriquejo. That's alright. Used to speak terrible Spanish. Nicholas Rapp, excellent to see you. Cajon Groove Grind, my man in Kashua with the drum thing. Good to see you. Bryce Gaffarian, awesome to see you, man. Bonjour, bonsoir. What else we got here? We got Slake Mansion. Slake Manson. Good morning, Kiwi. I am a Kiwi. That's right. It's good evening over here, but good morning where you are. Good afternoon if that's what applies. Good to see you. I must be America for you if it's morning, I guess. Natalie Pate or Pate, I'm not sure, but good to see you. That's another name I don't recognize. So we got two people there. We got Criso de la Eriquejo. We got Natalie Pate, and actually Slake Manson. Now I come think of it, I don't recognize that username either. So very good to have you along. You don't abuse those rights. We got Kohoshi no konbanwa. Ai Kankoku no hanashi tanoshimi da. まあでもね、そんなになんか、まあ全体的に言おうかな。Wasn't your track, Matagajinka? It's mine. It's Racerboy. I'm sorry. We'll get to yours. This is the playlist which has your tracks on it, so it's there. Travis Moore, hola. Man, we got the whole gang here. This is awesome. Herb Toka, what's up? What's up? Oh, okay, it's Herb Toka. He's like, say what's up. Yes, like that, but why is a thing in Scary Movie? In Scary Movie, I learned from that. Yes, it's supposed to snow there today. Wow, mysterious. Must be in the northern hemisphere. And we're up to date. Okay, so let's get into what's been cooking this week. Oh, you know what? This is probably not the best way to go about this, but let's just do it. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go into my feed on Facebook first, and check it out. I was looking at sakura. That's a very pink sakura. But it's like a type of Haya Sakura. It's an early blossoming sakura at a park, that I went to yesterday, and there are a few out already, and they're looking pretty sweet. Yogi Park is going to be hundreds of thousands of trees like that on April 1st, hopefully, provided it's not raining or anything like that. It should be awesome. And I'll put that up. It's a very nice little mini picture. There's a fantastic. I guess we've got to talk about. We will get into the Korea story. But of course, the real story isn't the collapse of one of the world's, the pivot point of security in East Asia, and the shining light of democratic reform in East Asia, and the collapse of of its government, and its biggest conglomerates under a crushing scandal. It's how these issues were discussed by a man in a suit in a room very much like this, only looking much more sophisticated, with a world map and books that he may or may not have read in the background, and his family intruding. Have people seen this? I need to just check. Have you seen this? You know what I'm talking about when I show you that. And this breakdown. I think this guy has an awesome family. I mean, I seriously, I would just on every level. I mean, on every level, this man has a family. I think that is to be envied. Let's open this up and let's break this down, because this has really been. This has been a significant week. This man is my hero. Let me be clear. We are not mocking here. We are all friends, and this man is an honorary member now of the blog community. He's had technical issues. We all have them. Jason is lost in Japan. Yes. See, we've got good to see Jason is lost in Japan. Yeah. Who hasn't seen this, right? So let's go through it. I mean, in fact, maybe I can. Can I show this? I can't. It's gonna ruin the whole thing if I do it that way. So let's just try it. Nah, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. Okay. Oh, it is gonna work, but it's gonna work the wrong way. So I won't do that. So it's an impeccable. This breakdown is on Medium. I shared it on Facebook. I also shared it. Here it came from Hiroko Tabuchi. She dug it up, and this guy has the best analysis of this video. And yeah, for those of you who haven't read it yet, this is the best, complete overall sort of thing. And the reason that this hasn't happened to me yet, I tell you, that looks like a normal door, but you don't understand. This is like Fort Knox. I mean, seriously, terrorists could not break into this room. I'm prepared, for that contingency. So no, it would never happen. So that's it. A very nice room. We talked about the room. He does a fantastic breakdown. And he goes through all the elements of it. And let's see. How's my room? No, my room is messy. No real pretense about this room. But this man. The thing is, this man is on the BBC, and I get it. He's going on he's appearing from a home studio, but he's going to be on international television talking about his subject. His what he is an expert for. This could be a major turning point in his career. Hell, if I knew that was going to happen tomorrow morning, I'd probably move a bookshelf into the background and buy a map and put it on the wall, and probably lock the family up in a different room. I mean, that's what I would have done. He didn't do it. He's probably a better person for not having done it. I'm just saying. You never know what might happen, right? So he obviously let his family roam free around the house. And the man is looking sharp. I mean, seriously, I have considered dressing up like this at least like 2 times since I've been doing the show. It would be pretty good to look like this when I do the show. But there again, this is me. It's 11 o'clock at night. Confession, these are my pajamas. That's the name of my country. We have 2 official languages, and then the non-English official language. This is it, Aotearoa. It's got more down there, but if I pointed it down, you'd see my naked legs and all the mess that I'm hiding out of camera. So that's why it's only showing the top part. So no, let's face it, the man is looking sharp, and I can't fault him. The power tie. Yeah, he's looking. So, by the way, Robert E. Kelly, he's a handsome man. He's dressed up for the occasion. He's an academic in political science from Ohio State University. I mean, look, straight out of Cleveland. He seriously, he's rocking it. And yeah, he deserves credit. He seems to have a Korean family connection by the sounds of it. So very good. So we all know what happens next. The elder daughter. And you know what? Again, we all like to think that our kids are the coolest. But this kid, this kid has some moves. I love this. Walk into the club like. She knows how to walk. Seriously, I feel like I could take walking lessons from this. Yeah, Lysander, seriously, you don't want to know. You should probably just eliminate that. I could wear a suit. Maybe next week. Maybe that'll be the thing. If I wear a suit next week, it'll be interesting to see, will my ratings go up or down? Will you all just turn it off or not? Who knows? So the girl walks into the club, and she's rocking it, and he's trying not to acknowledge that it's there, but it's pretty hard to see. And you know, she's there in the background, and everyone obviously in the BBC studios being very professional and laughing about it and pointing at him, even though, I mean, let's face it, the most professional person in this whole thing was the interviewee. Come on, BBC, throw the guy a bone, seriously. We all know what happened next as she tried to be what a kid would be, basically to get onto the camera. The dad, you know, basically did probably what I would do to deny the reality of what was happening and put out the hand to push back. And according to this on social media, some people didn't like that. But seriously, these are probably people who think that 2-year-old kids are like 29-year-old adults that need to be fully respected. No, this is like a 3 or 4-year-old kid, and no, you know, you're allowed to push the kid back like that. Seriously, sometimes you just have to do it. I mean, you know, they could be running at a PowerPoint with a fork. You know, they could be going to plug something in. They could be going to set something on fire. They could be going to put the cat in the microwave. You can push a 3-year-old when it's justified. You have to use your your discretion about it. Remino is in the house indeed. Very good to see. As is Sean, bro. Good to see that. Not a birthday suit. Apartment. You're in the apartment, Remino. Be specific. That's what we're working on, specifics at the moment. So the thing about the hand, seriously, if you think there's anything wrong with that hand, you've got no idea, seriously, and you probably shouldn't have children, seriously, because if you don't know that it's okay to put hands on your kid sometimes when it's called for, and you know, this is just as important as putting the cat in the microwave. You're ruining Daddy's career on international television. So I think it's called for here that he put the hand out, and I don't think that's controversial. The smile, the awkward smile. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. But that's okay. It's okay. But seriously, you know, it happens. It's a great moment, you know, and everyone is starting to acknowledge. But it did get better when it escalated. I mean, I want to come back for one thing. I never messed with those things. It's unnatural. It's unnatural to put a kid in one of those things where they can walk when they're not able to walk yet. I'm not a religious person, but I do think that there is a reason that, you know, there is a greater universal reason that kids that small are not allowed to walk. You know, it's because they're gonna do like extra crazy shit. And giving them, you know, the equivalent of a dragster, which I think you do when you put them on one of those wheel devices, and you wander them around. You know, it's just like there's a kid who should not be walking. It's you know, it's like the same reason we don't fly. That you know, kids that young, probably less than 1-year-old, walks around. I certainly hope there are no stairs in that house, but certainly you didn't need stairs. They're coming into the room, and so now you've got both kids going around. And granted, the situation of the shopping trolley with the baby pretty much out of control, you know, does add to the tension of the situation. Interestingly put here is the plight of the second born. You know, I mean, the elder kid is there, getting all the international spotlight, showing off the dance moves, and you know, they can't just let that sit. I understand the logic. But yes, the star of the show, as people were saying, I mean, total spoilers in the comments. Please, people, you're spoiling. Well, I mean, I suppose. I guess I can't show the video very well in this frame, but you know, the mum, man, she was like, I mean, the Kramer entrance is probably the right way to put it. I mean, complete, I would say speed skater. I mean, you know, that's very big in Korea. Apparently she is a Korean lady. You know, a controlled power slide is what you call that. I mean, I don't think there was any panic or you know, lack of control on that at all. That was 100% power and focus. She was going sideways, but she knew exactly where she was going for. And again, you know, she grabbed the kids, you know, trying to save the life of the whole family. And it was magic, actually. Those were some serious skills. Hey Ty, good to see you, man. And yeah, you know, it was again, here's another thing. I mean, I must admit the dedication. There was some serious commitment with those moves that I don't think in a similar situation in this house that I honestly would ever see. It would be like you're screwed. Sucks to be you. That's all that I would get if I got anything at all. Plus, on the long list of, you know, divorce triggering conditions is Junior being on the Hiko Junior being on the camera. It'll happen one day, but he'll probably be 23. So yeah, especially the Flintstones. I mean, that's kind of you could have had one of those drums which he comes in, but I tell you, there was no wasted movement. There was a power slide, grab, drag, and then I mean this man who did it better. There's some serious skills there. But the really interesting thing about this, actually, and I tweeted about this tonight. Let's get into your Flipboard and let's go back up to the top. What is really interesting is that a lot of people who watched this seem to assume, and there was apparently a long debate, was that the mum or was that the nanny? And if you thought that was the nanny, then you're a racist. Congratulations. Pei Genji 931. Well, maybe you're not a racist, but I mean, it does imply, I mean, again, people see Asian lady by power suit white man, and a lot of people assume that she must be working for him, and that panic was fear of losing job from angry white man. I mean, and it's kind of funny, a lot of people who would be very, very upset to be accused of being racially stereotyping people were probably, racially stereotyping. I'm wondering, I mean, I'm interested, what do you think about this? Do you think, given that you really don't know the context of the video, and really, I mean, it could be true, there could be a nanny whose job was to look after the kids while he's on international television, and she'll be fired if the kids, leave the room, and she could have been distracted momentarily by the pizza boy, and, the kids could have gone racing in, and her life could be collapsing, and she could have been reacting. A lot of people seem to put this narrative together, but they did it, let's face it, they did it based on the visual information they have, which was what that she looks. That's right, we have hopefully not a girlfriend. In fact, I mean, nobody, that's right, he is married. No, that's an excellent point, Amber. In fact, that would be if that were true, that would just be perfect. But no, we actually do have ID'd the lady. And it turns out that she is, in fact, the Korean wife of the man. Might contribute to it. He is a Korean expert, and it seems that is indeed why the connection is there. M&E, you've got it. But yeah, so why did so many people assume right away that was the nanny? I suppose you interpret situations according to the framework with which you are most familiar. If you see a lot of white people with kids that have Asian nannies, maybe that's what I think the mistress, the behavior would have just been entirely different. In fact, she probably would never have been standing up, it would have been crawling along the floor the entire way. For me, I only assumed it could be the mother as well, but there again, I mean, I suppose, yeah, if you're used to seeing Asian people with white people's kids and assuming that they're nannies, which I suppose happens in certain parts of the world, if you're watching in, Manhattan Island or parts of London, or if you live in Singapore or Hong Kong, I suppose it's, and you're a rich white expat, I guess it's very common that they have, Asian nannies, but it is pretty awful when you think about it, that probably means that people who think that way, whenever they see an Asian lady with a half or a white-looking kid, they're going to assume that that's the nanny, and that's kind of, I mean, it's racist, but is it really racist to just simply look at things through the context of, the world which you see? I mean, it's not necessarily false information. What you see is not necessarily false information for your daily life. It just is that you see a version of life where Asian people are subservient to white people, which of course isn't the case if you live in Japan. I don't think anyone would make that mistake in Korea or Japan. I think they might make the mistake in Hong Kong, or they might make the mistake in Singapore, and the reason for that is, honestly speaking, white people have very privileged positions, and it's extremely common for Asian people to work as nannies in those countries. Various reasons in Japan, including work regulations in Japan. You don't actually have nannies. They've just actually, one of the female executives at Goldman Sachs in Japan lobbied the government successfully to allow for the first time them to bring their Asian nannies to Japan, because all of these Western executives who want to be able to have the same conveniences of being a working mother expat that you get in Singapore and other places like that. They want to bring their Asian nannies to Japan, and Japanese law actually prohibits it, which is why, again, for me, it never even occurred to me that they might be a nanny. But at the same time, when they were... so in a way, you have a very rich, powerful, working mother at a top-of-the-line corporation in Japan. She says, I want my Asian nannies. I want to create the environment which leads to the stereotype. And part of me thinks, well, why don't you just pay the money and use a Japanese person, or fly a relative out, which is what most Japanese people do, including rich ones. I suppose the world trend is towards, people can work across borders, and if Asian people happen to be very good nannies, and people are willing to pay, you are going to see more and more maybe rich, powerful white people having Asian nannies. But there again, that is a horrible situation where in fact you're dealing with a situation of a high degree of equality. The wife is apparently very educated, and of course a Korean person, and so there's no presumption of a overprivileged white person per se. But yet a lot of people on the internet do that. I thought that was an interesting discussion. Anyway, so is there anything left to talk about on that video? It is a great video. This analysis by Ben Thompson, credit to him, that this is the best. Of all the people talking about this, that is far and away the best analysis of that. Very good job, bravo, and an excellent video. I thought it made my week. Pego Sagaris, well, couldn't see the Asian and the kids, and that's true as well. Well, but even then, it's kind of hard to see. It's low resolution, but there again, you can't see the Asian and the kids. I mean, stop and think about that. From what does that mean? I mean, and Adam Smithers, you are saying some fucked up shit there, in fact, and I am only just looking at this at the moment, but you're cruising for moderation, so be careful there. And plus, you can't spell Sachs, Goldman Sachs. That's an excellent point there, Lysander 45. I'll let you keep going. I got a pretty wide berth, but seriously, be careful there. Excellent there. And it's not just, but here's the thing as well, is it really ignorance? Is it really ignorance when it's actually what you see in the environment that you're in? And maybe the problem is with the environment. Oh shit. Darren, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't do it. Oh dear. Next story, Bankara. Kenji, I hope you're listening. If you only listen to 30 seconds of this whole thing tonight, if you stop from your taxes and look up for a second, in Ginza there is a place called Bankara, which, from what I can make out, they offer a live back band for karaoke, so you can get up and actually sing with an actual band your karaoke songs. And if you have people who are musically able, if you have people who can actually come along and who can actually play guitar or drums or who knows, the xylophone or whatever, you can actually go up and play instruments, so you can actually do karaoke with your friends at a party with an actual band. I'm like, holy crap, oh my god, this is like, yes. So Kenji is there. This is something that has to be investigated. Bankara Zone Ginza. Dude, this has to be checked out, please. This is important shit, seriously. I'm not going to say any more. Okay, I have to talk about this. This was another thing that I read this week. I was not familiar with this. Some people who are familiar with this kind of pointed this out. Granted, this is a fairly positively spun story, but this is, I've never heard of this 88 Up thing. It's another one of those news now or whatever things. But it's the story of Japanese, well, they call him samurai. He's not technically Adam Smithers. I don't know what you're aiming for here, but I'll count that second one as a strike. But anyway, I mean seriously, go and enjoy PewDiePie. He likes that sort of shit. So anyway, the story of Yasuke. Apparently this is pre-samurai times actually in Japan. This was like, was this, in fact, I get them all mixed up. Was this Oda Nobunaga? It was Nobunaga. Yeah, there's a story, a slave from Mozambique who was brought over, as a slave by a Portuguese Christian missionary, I think it was actually, yeah, that in itself I find extremely problematic. The fact that Portuguese missionaries were taking slaves around with them. But okay, I mean, Old Testament, I guess they had slavery. Brought him to Japan, and in Japan they thought, whoa, check out the cool dude, and yeah, they made him the Nobunaga, the samurai, the shogun of the time, took him in to his own sort of army, and the guy sort of became kind of popular until the guy got defeated, and then when he got defeated, he was basically let go. But it's a cool story, and you know, you think about there's two biopics I've been thinking that really need to be made. One is the story, the life story of George Takei. That's a movie that freaking has to be made. I mean, the guy was like born to immigrants, was raised in a fucking concentration camp, and let's be clear, they were concentrated. Internment camps were concentration camps. They rounded up all the people of a certain race, and it wasn't nationality. You could be third generation American, and you would have been put into those camps. They rounded up 3 generations, and this is in 1945. You go back 3 generations of the Italians or the Germans. You know, you've got bloody half of the U.S. military, half the population of New York at that time. They rounded up all the Japanese, three generations. They put them into confiscated their property. They put them in camps up in the mountains, and he was raised in those concentration camps. Not gas chambers, we're talking a different thing to that, but concentration camps were invented by the British in the Boer War. They were used in New Zealand. We used them for conscientious objectors in New Zealand. We used them as punishment camps. We treated people terribly in them. They've been used all around the world, and they were used in America here in an extremely unconscionable way. Second case in America, by the way, as well. They used it also with Native Americans. So he grew up in a concentration camp, got out, you know, became, you know, a very rare sight, an Asian actor on TV in the 50s and 60s on Star Trek. And then, you know, became one of the early on people to sort of come out and sort of, you know, he's had this amazing career, and he's such a great character, you know, now to follow. He's so articulate, and you know, I think he's got a great life story. But here is another pretty good life story, I think, to tell, that you can make a great movie out of this. Again, you got someone who was slave, taken out of Africa by the Portuguese, taken to Japan, where he basically becomes somewhat of a favorite within the court of Nobunaga. There were some interesting comments to this, however, which I will share, because there are some good stuff here. Oh, and there we go, Takei's family. I did not know the part about escaping the draft for the Russo-Japanese War. Hell, there's a connection there. I mean, well, we don't know all the specifics, but it was pretty well known that there were people, for example, who, wanted to avoid service in the Russian army on the other side as well. They would injure themselves to avoid getting drafted back in time. So, you know, people used to do that all over the place. So, interesting comment here by Univerman Kotaro, who used to be a little bit of a troll, but actually I think this is actually probably an objective comment. He kind of makes a correction. This is a very positive spin on the story, but he points out that actually, you know, the guy Yasuke, he wasn't, you know, he was kind of paraded around like a bit of a trophy by Nobunaga, and I suppose there are lots of different ways of looking at it, but I do like the angle that this guy was actually seen as being, you know, athletic and good looking, and you know, and that they drafted him into the military like that. Plus the whole thing about all the news coming out this week about Samuel L. Jackson being like super into anime, including he proudly says hentai anime, which whatever gets your boat going. But yeah, and so I said, yeah, if you're talking about the concentration camps, I said the Boer War actually, and it was before Disraeli. And by the way, Boer War, well, it's connected to New Zealand as well. All the British troops who got sick of fighting the Maori in New Zealand went over to the Boer War, and they set up concentration camps for the Dutch. So totally, yeah, we totally taught the Germans how to do concentration camps by putting the Germans and the Dutch into concentration camps in South Africa. And they were nasty, and they still hate the British for it today in South Africa. But anyway, yeah, so interesting story here, and I immediately said Samuel Jackson just because the story came out about what a fan he was of Japanese culture and anime and so on. Plus, I just love Pulp Fiction so much, and just the idea of having him being like an Afro samurai or something like that. I mean, which would not be accurate at all to the story, but at the same time, it would be super cool to see. Okay, maybe not Samuel Jackson, but that would make a really cool story anyway. I mean, it's epic, right? I mean, it's. And this is the whole point. I mean, granted, it's great that they could make a story about the Great Wall of China starring Matt Damon as an immigrant person who works on walls or whatever they keep doing. But you know, actually, non-white people have interesting stories too. Why not just? I mean, hell, except in this movie, of course. Some people were saying put some West Africans on this. And I'm like, no, that would be discriminatory because, of course, Mozambique is Southeast Africa, very different people, a variety of ethnic groups, and it's not clear which one this person was. But at the same time, you know, if you're going for money, which people say Hollywood does, George Clooney would be very good for the role. I think he would make a bankable production for this. But a great story. This one of Yasuke, I had no idea about him at all. So it's cool that this happened. The first quasi-samurai, at least in Japanese history, was not Tom Cruise. It was a Mozambican slave. And you know, I mean, yeah, the Christians in Japan, the Portuguese, the missionaries, they got a pretty hard time. I mean, you know, Japan was a little bit genocide-y towards them. They did like to massacre them here and there. But at the same time, I mean, hell, it's not cool bringing slaves in. I mean, to show how cool you're doing. So, you know, there is that. Lara, excellent to see you. I'm glad to see that you made it. Good to have you along here. Azuki Island. You think they read the Afro Samurai was given a castle or something? Oh, really? Well, all the better. Anyway, I mean, I think it is pretty cool. There's got to be some great movie in there somewhere that you can totally play that one up. By the way, Alan, good to see you, Alan. You are Alan, and you said it twice, so now we know it twice over. Yes. And Michael Pickett, well, that's I suppose like Germans do. They built upon and improved the efficiency of the British model, which was made to make Germans and Dutch people miserable in the first place. But yeah. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about Korea, because that is Anna Fifield, and that was her doing a live stream on Facebook this week from in front of the Constitutional Parliament in Korea about where the impeachment of Park Geun-hye was confirmed this week. They're coming for me. They got me. They found out all about me. What can you do? So that's her talking, and I hope you can't hear her because it would be very distracting if you could. She's from New Zealand, and she's a reporter for the Washington Post. And she lives in Japan. She covers Japan and Korea, but let's face it, Korea's been a lot more interesting lately. For those of you who don't, what am I? How am I doing? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yeah, you can see the cops. It's an ice cream van. That's right. So what's happened with Korea? Let's talk about this. I've kind of, apart from saying that Korea is just absolutely screwed. Oh, was that his name? Was he just repeating? Oh, that was his name part, not the comment. I thought he had some sort of a speech impediment. I'm sorry about that. Hi, I'm Alan. Although that's confusing as well. Saying your name like that is extremely confusing. So, what's happening in Korea? I mean, I guess you've all kind of picked up on the story by now. It's been kind of going non-stop. But let's talk quickly about what's happening in Korea, and more interesting about Smithers. You're killing me, dude. This is kind of getting a little bit too much. So let's do it. Shall I do it? Let's put you in a timeout. I'm not going to go full block because look, I believe in free speech and all that stuff. But dude, yeah, it's just getting a little bit too much. So timeout. Look, you know, you're welcome back. I like all people, even even anti-Semites and Nazis. You're all welcome here. Seriously, you can even be Nazi-ish, but dude, you know. Anyway, let's come back to it. What's happening in Korea? In Korea, basically, let's go back. Everyone knows the story seems to get crazier and crazier, but let's just recap. In fact, there's so many angles on the story. It is a fascinating story. Let's talk about what happened with Korea. So, in the 1960s, basically between Korea being liberated in 1945 and 1987, when Korea became democratic, it had a whole series of basically fascist military dictators. It was a bit like South Vietnam during the Vietnam War. It was in war with the North, and supported by the communist powers, China and the Soviet Union. And America just invested everything in making sure that no matter what, they wouldn't leave it up to democratic chance. They backed even very, very horrible dictators to basically come in and make sure that South Korea would stay, the front line, the West Germany, as it were, of the East. And among those dictators that came to power, who kind of contradicted the values, you could say, they wanted people who would be very strong against a communist-backed, communist, hardline North Korea. And one of those dictators was it wasn't his name, Park Chung-hee, I think it was. It was a man who was actually Korean, but he was actually educated in Japan in Tokyo University and served in the Japanese military during World War II as a very small and elite part of Korean society did. He was actually scouted as being a particularly talented person from Korean recruits, and was actually, some would say a Japanese war criminal, but he was successful within the Japanese military during World War II. And he transferred those expertise into being very successful as a general in the Korean army during the Civil War. And when he became the military dictator president of South Korea, he actually was such a friend of Japan. He actually said about the whole Dokdo Takeshima island dispute that if those islands ever come between Japan and Korea, he will just nuke them off the map himself. His predecessor had actually been the one who grabbed those islands off Japan, while Japan had no government or self-defense force, and shot pretty much every fisherman who came near the islands after that. So there was he was basically probably the most pro-Japanese leader that Korea's had pretty much since it was under occupation by Japan. And his kind of legacy, the biggest legacy that he had was that he founded the diplomatic relations. Korea and Japan had no diplomatic relations, I believe, until 1965, which was when Park was in power, and he basically signed. Japan agreed to basically pay for South Korea's recovery from the Civil War and its post-war economic development. They funded its miracle through a massive package of reparations, which they paid in exchange for having diplomatic relations with South Korea, and basically that they were paying off Korea this money to decide, to resolve war-related claims or occupation-related claims, and in exchange for that, Japan was absolved from responsibility for the occupation, and Japan and Korea kicked off as the good friends that they would of course remain forever. I'm just joking about that particular part. But so the thing is, you had a dictator who was ruthless at suppressing leftist and communist subversion, including a number of very unpleasant massacres, it seems, of students and leftists and so on. Very controversial legacy. And among that, while he was being dictator and while he was crushing and murdering South Korean leftists who he saw as being subversive, he was also very friendly towards Japan. Fast forward 50 years. In fact, no, fast forward maybe 10 years. He was eventually shot. I don't remember when he was shot. He was assassinated, I think during the 80s or something like that. His daughter, as he grew up, who was until a couple of days ago was the Korean president, was basically lived a very, very sort of sheltered life as the dictator's daughter, and had very few friends, and actually suffered from, she apparently didn't get along very well with her father, is one of the rumors, and one of the reasons she didn't get along with her father is the fact that her mother was assassinated with a bullet that was intended for her father, and she was crushed at having lost her mother, and apparently a religious cultist was able to get access to the family by saying that he was able to talk with the dead spirit of the dictator's wife, the mother of Park Geun-hye. And apparently he basically she so missed her mother and wanted contact with her mother that this man who claimed to be a Korean shaman was basically the father forgave him having access to the daughter, which allegedly he used to exercise control over her and to gain some influence within the powerful ruling family of Korea. When that cultist leader died, his daughter, who was close to being the same age as Park Geun-hye, became a very close friend of hers. And this is the relationship that basically is what's undermined this whole thing. The rumors are that the daughter of the religious cult, basically took over the religious cult and took over allegedly the control of Park Geun-hye. Park Geun-hye, who basically remained unmarried and kind of built up her whole life to frankly taking over her father's legacy, decided to to basically become like what she became, to become a president, to sort of and basically to try to rehabilitate the image of her dictator father as a nice guy, and to try to become the leader of the Korean conservative right-wing movement and so on. And she sort of did everything. Her whole life built up to basically she didn't marry. She avoided corruption and favors and bribes and so on. Self-enrichment has brought down nearly every other leader of Korea. Her only weakness was that she had this other friend that she so desperately wanted to keep close because of the alleged psychic connection to her dead mother, that she basically gave that friend anything and allowed that friend to wield a lot of power. And that friend, it turned out, was a bit of a freak and a bit power crazy, and basically used the influence that she had with the president to demand, for example, basically she set up a bunch of slush funds that were designed as charities, but she could go around and tell Lotte and Samsung and all the biggest corporations to donate millions of dollars into this fund, which she was using to fund her cult and manipulate the president. And basically that all came unstuck when was he a archery or equestrian or some celebrity Olympian Korean guy who was actually working in a clothing shop and was delivering clothes to this cult leader, came basically into some sort of a romantic relationship or something with her and was asked to look after her puppy. And apparently one day when he went off to play golf and left the puppy at home, the cult leader lady came over to his house and found the puppy unsupervised because he had been to golf, and apparently said some very rude things to him. So he basically unleashed. He had been keeping a log of all the power abuses that this cult leader had been doing and all the ways that she'd been manipulating the president. And it was all... and basically this guy just went to the press and just released everything about how the president's a puppet of a religious cult. And then all these crazy stories came out, which culminated in discovery of the collusion, the corruption, the slush funds, and it was all from this president who had done everything else more or less. I mean, I really think I don't like what sort of a president she's been. I don't like the fact that she's tried to distance herself from the association between her father and his collaborator status, and he was a collaborator with the Japanese. And in order to partly I was kind of hopeful. Hey, she's the daughter of a collaborator. That if she's a collaborator, that means that we can have better relations between Korea and Japan. I would love for Japan and Korea to collaborate more, but she's obviously a bit sensitive about the daughter of a collaborator tag, and so she decided not to collaborate with Japan at all. In fact, she probably precipitated the worst relations that Korea and Japan have had, totally needlessly. I mean, just purely, refused to even be seen near Abe for like the last 8 years. And it's been very frustrating as someone who wants to see Korea and Japan get along. That I get it. She's a daughter of a collaborator, and she doesn't. She wants to appear to be keeping a distance and being tough on Japan. But it's 7 years later, and it's actually really bad for the relations and economies of both countries to be over an appearance issue. So I was very frustrated with that aspect of her leadership. Didn't really care so much about the religious cult manipulation and the puppies and the slush funds and all that sort of stuff. Didn't really care about that, but I think she was from someone who evaluates every Korean president superficially by how good a job they do at keeping good relations with Japan, which, by the way, the previous president, Lee, did a pretty good job of, right until the last year where the wheels just completely came off. That was as much a failure of the Japan Democratic Party as it was of Lee. But yeah, unfortunately, she had no friends by the time the scandal came out. In Korea, allegedly as well. That was always seen as her strength, the fact that she had no friends, but she had one friend, and that was enough, it seems. And yeah, it would make a story. It would make a great movie story, except the movie would almost be too. It would almost be too. It would be a letdown from the actual story. That would be the problem. Azuki Island, indeed. I mean, it's not even a political tactic. It's just a fundamental principle, and it's really frustrating over here to see. Just needless. It's self-destructive, but at the end of the day, it's so profitable that you can't really do anything to avoid it. And you're always supposed to say, well, of course, Japan did lots of wrong things and they have to face up to the history and all that sort of stuff. But holy shit, Japan has done everything that it's could reasonably be expected to do. It's up to them whether they want to hold on to the anger or not. And the idea that Israel's gets along with Germany because Germany's apologized. Germany hasn't apologized to the Jews or to Israel anything like as many times or with as many express actual measures in any way comparable to the way that Japan has. They just don't want to hear it, and you know what? They're victims, so they're entitled. If they want to be victims forever, they're allowed to be victims forever because they are victims. But it's up to them to decide. Whether they want to move on or not, and that's fine. But saying that we want them to do this and we'll move on, and then Japan does it, and then they say, well, no, we don't want to move on. Same thing with the Seal of the Comfort Woman. Japan negotiated in good faith a treaty, which was supposed to be, I suppose, for her a chance to sort of come out and say, look at all, my pressure on Japan paid off. But again, it's always going to be the anti-Japan card. It's always going to be, oh, look, now she's being a collaborator. That's exactly what happened, and now they have to back off it. And the next president of Korea, I guarantee you, will disown the deal that was done by Park with Japan, say that the deal was illegitimate, and wind it back and say Japan still hasn't done right by the comfort women. So, there's just no... And Japan deserves credit. They did do a good faith effort to try to resolve the issue, in an appropriate way. But people don't want to let go of their anger. And they're entitled to not let go of their anger, but unfortunately that means that relations are just going to stay in the crapper. And I want to see good relations. Call me selfish. I just want the countries to get along. And I think the onus is on Korea. I think Japan is, I think the intent is here, and it's frankly not in Korea. I don't understand how Korea thinks it's in their national interest to sort of isolate themselves from Japan. But there again, most Koreans, it seems, do think that way, and that's their right. So it's a shame. And this whole thing, what this means is, in terms of, this is maybe the more significant thing, you've got a new insane president in America who's putting pressure on everybody to pay more money, for their defense and whatnot. You've got the THAAD, the missile shield, which is intended to protect America and to protect Japan. It's a defensive shield against North Korean, but let's be honest, also Chinese missiles. China's trying to put all sorts of pressure on South Korea, which, by the way, Korea has exposed itself to China because it wanted to basically use China, the relationship with China, as a way to offset the need to be close to Japan. But the problem is they got so close to China that now this happens, which is for their self-defense against North Korea. And now China's killing them with all these boycotts and diplomatic retaliation for this missile shield. And it's a defensive shield. It's not there to attack China. China's concerned it might neutralize the deterrence effect of their own missiles against America. But that's pretty shitty that they're basically bullying Korea over this thing. And in the meantime, North Korea is actually showing exactly why you need the missile shield, because they're firing freaking missiles all over the place. So, and all of this is happening while Korea has spent how long now? 6 months now, without any functioning executive function of the government. Daily million-person sort of, not daily, but million-person protests and stuff. Korea's just basically completely collapsed, in terms of having a functional government. And everyone's taking advantage. China's taking advantage. America's gone to shit. Japan's got no one over there that they can rely on, and there's problems with the relationship there, with these statues now being put opportunistically in front of all the other consulates to sort of undermine the comfort women deal. And all these sort of things that are happening all over the place, and there's no partner in Korea. There's no government, and so it's really just gone to shit. And Korea's still there. It hasn't actually ceased to exist, so they're doing okay with that. But basically, it's in a really bad situation, and it's needless, but it just seems a never-ending line of just drama over there. And I'm interested. I'm morbidly curious to see if they can top it. So I've talked a lot about only a very few stories tonight. Let's just flip through the rest of the stuff, shall I? Tremendous, believe me. That's right. So what else have we got here? We've got the most difficult places to travel to in the world. The most difficult one, Pitcairn Island. Used to be a New Zealand dependency. It takes weeks to get out there. Allegedly, all the people on the island, there's a lot of, how shall I put it, sexual molestation. Apparently, basically everybody on the island at the same time had to go to a New Zealand court. A lot of isolationists, the Tahitian abductees and the crew of the Bounty. They escaped to that island. That's the most difficult place to go to. But there again, and Bhutan is pretty difficult as well, apparently. Look on your comment talking about, oh yes, that's right, we had the 311 anniversary this week, and someone actually asked me. In fact, it was Jack Simura who asked me this week what my thoughts were on 311. And here's what I must admit. I got to tell you honestly, the 5th anniversary kind of brought back the actually quite traumatic feelings that I felt on that day, and that stayed with me for a very long time. And I suppose if I think about it, it's pretty profound. And it's not just for me. This is the thing. We live in an age where, without being in the place, we can experience live. We can watch real time, as we did watch in real time. These tsunamis hit the coast and wipe out these towns like while we were watching. And we weren't in harm's way, but we were watching cameras on these buildings and watching these towns get swept away, which were full of people. 20,000 people, 30,000, died. And you know, watching something like that live and trying to process it, you know, it deeply affected me for a long time, and it brought it back last year when it happened. To tell you the truth, this year, I think I'm doing. This happens. It's fading. It's fading, and maybe I think that's a good thing, in a way. I think the whole idea of, you know, experiences like this is that, you know, it goes into the deep long-term memory, and it's supposed to, you know, of course these things only happen once or twice a lifetime, but they're supposed to be profound enough that, you know, you remember and you take logical steps, that you're aware of this sort of thing, and, you know, you try to build levees or build towns in safe locations and so on. You do eventually move on from it, but and I didn't feel quite as sad this year as I did in previous years. It's always going to be something that, you know, affected me, and all the aspects of it, obviously. I mean, I suppose today is the anniversary of finding out about the nuclear accident, which unfortunately overtook what was still ultimately the real tragedy, which was of these towns being wiped out by the tsunami. But yeah, it definitely it changed me. An experience like that, where you feel that much sort of stress and uncertainty and fear, and you experience a quake like that, you know, and the prolonged period of uncertainty and so on that followed, yeah, it's definitely, it's affected, it's shaped my life in a small way. Anyone who cares about Japan, I think it would have shaped and changed our lives somewhat, but it's, you know, nothing like the people who suffered through it still the most. And it's a good time to remember that a lot of those people are still living in, you know, in temporary housing, and those towns are going to take a generation to recover, if they recover. A lot of the towns won't recover. Interesting, I was in Tokyo at the time. I've done videos about this as well, in fact, right at the time as well, while I was in the middle of the stress, and they're still, well, those are actually, I'll say, they're good videos. They're some of my best videos, where I was trying to process at the time all the shit that was happening. One other interesting anniversary that happened actually 2 days ago on actually I've got some, I did a tweet on this. I did a tweet on the, which was also really remarkable. In fact, let me see if I can find it. March 10th is the anniversary of the first firestorm bombing of Tokyo, which caused 1 million homeless and 100,000 dead, 4 to 5 times more than died in the Tohoku tsunami. And it's amazing in a way. This was a human event that people did deliberately with the objective of killing more than 4 times than what a magnitude 9 earthquake and a 100-foot, 33-meter tsunami caused. And it's totally successful. And when you look at the map of Tokyo that was wiped out by this, and they did this on several raids, but the first raid caused, basically the estimates ranged between 85,000 and 200,000 dead in one night and 1 million homeless. And that is where I am right now, right here. My son's school, is going through an anniversary where it was evacuated, they during World War II. But this was the area that was deliberately targeted, they poured the equivalent of napalm over the entire city and set it on fire. And Operation Meeting House, but people don't even commemorate it. Everyone knows Nagasaki, everyone knows Hiroshima, most people know Nagasaki, a few people who study World War II and who care know about Dresden. But this was bigger than any of those, and not even in Tokyo, people don't know about it. And actually, the maps showing the scope of destruction of that bombing, it is really remarkable. I mean, you live here in Tokyo and you see pretty much the entire Yamanote line area in East Tokyo was just, wiped out by this. It was you look at that again as being a natural disaster, but again, you think of what the people in Tohoku went through. People in Tokyo went through 4 times that within a generation ago, and somehow they put that behind, they made the Japan that we all love and experience today. And it's really fundamental that, and actually all of these things, they shape what Japan is, and they don't look at it like something that this is, the Americans did this terrible thing to us. They look at it the same way as the tsunami. It was a terrible thing that happened, and I think it shapes a lot of the best features of Japanese people, that they've been through this. And he's back. Well, listen, Adam, the next one might be a timeout. You're lucky that we're out of time tonight. Behave, seriously. I don't like to block people, but anyway, you do see signs of it around Tokyo. It's why there are very few old buildings in Tokyo. It's just because everything was burned. The entire city was burned. It's really incredible. So anyway, anything else that was interesting? I mean, this is pretty much it for tonight, but a good story here in The Economist on Banyan and Banyan about Busan and Fukuoka getting on, which was really good to see. My music makes the download global royalty-free music download charts. It's kind of nice to see, although it's very, very low down in the charts, but who cares? The Trump cabinet's fighting over trade. Apparently they have the ultra-isolationist nationalist Navarro, who apparently is blaming Japanese non-tariff barriers to preventing cars being sold in Japan. And he's saying that Japan needs to correct the balance by buying more American shit, right? I mean, let's face it, it's what we're talking about. The cars are too big for the road. The steering wheel's on the wrong side of the car. They've got no interest in manufacturing cars for the Japanese market. The Germans do, and the Germans sell lots of cars here. The problem is that the cars are shit, and I mean, there are American cars that I would buy. But, America has to take the Japanese market seriously if it wants to get taken seriously. It's not, again, I read this and I think, well, I really want to buy a shitty car, a gun, and a hamburger. Oh, I would buy a Tesla. I'd buy like 2 Teslas because they will go flying everywhere. Sakura, Tai, I talked about Sakura in the beginning. I will talk about Sakura again. Oh yeah, lots of guys are more interested in Western Tokyo because of Murakami. I don't know about that, but maybe they are. I'm going to wrap up very soon, but just a reminder again, the sakura are starting to bloom now, and they're going to be full bloom on schedule April 1st, which means that they're going to be at the YouTube Hanami. Check out my Facebook. I will start sharing information on where that is. That's where I will be on April 1st. Be there or be square, and if it's raining, the hub, 2 o'clock. But otherwise, I'm going to see all of you guys there at the party on April 1st, where it will be full bloom and it will be a good thing. So I hope to see all of you guys there on April 1st. And after this, I'm going to set up another live stream right away, where I'm going to talk about all of this in Japanese for about 20 minutes. So I hope you guys all have a good week. I managed to somehow talk for a whole hour without stopping. Again, that's what I do. Hope you guys are all good. I hope I helped some of you guys get to sleep. Auntie Liana, hello, foreign, nice to see you. First time I've seen you comment, so I'll quickly read this. You were here during 311. Oh, wait a minute. Hello, foreigner living in Japan. It's been 6 years. I was here when the 311 occurred. While walking on road with daughter, it was the very first big earthquake experience. Unforgettable. Yeah, I've been through a lot of earthquakes. I'm from New Zealand, but nothing like that. I don't. Auntie Liana, where in Japan were you when that occurred? By the way, I started out in Tokyo. My first stop was Takao, which is as western Tokyo as you can get. It's actually practically Yamanashi. So yeah, no, I love the western Tokyo myself. It's its own thing, But yeah, go check it out, everyone. Anyway, I'm gonna have to sign off for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. Remember, every week you want to keep up with what's happening in Japan. You want my take on the stories and all that sort of stuff, and all the debates and all that sort of stuff. This is the place to come. Tokyo Tonight 2. Here, 11 p.m. every night live, every Sunday night live. And I'm going to do the Japanese show, and then I'm going to rock out, and then I'm going to watch some more, probably House of Cards, before I go to sleep. Hope you enjoyed the show, and see all you guys later. You're in Yokohama. Okay, that's you're pretty close. You would have got the big shake there. Okay, have a good night, everybody. Peace. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, clicking. Stop. In the name of love, before you break my heart.